everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Julie's Journey in Smart Factory Design podcast. My name is Julia Żywiecka, and I am 24/7 executive assistant, content creator for marketing assets, and the future sales and marketing specialist here at Smart Factory Design. I'm also working on technical drawings and communication. This podcast is a part of my summer internship. I'm incredibly excited to host the show because it's a great opportunity to showcase what we are working on and give you a behind the scenes look into how Smart Factory Design operates. Today, I'm sitting with someone very special, the founder and CEO Alexander Stepinski. He's not just my coach this summer, but also the visionary behind everything we do. So Alex, let's start from the beginning. I know that many of our listeners might not realize just how diverse your personal background is. So what did you study or do before founding the company?
Well, just to get started, it's my great pleasure to be here today and be interviewed. So my personal background is I'm American, of Polish extraction. I'm the first one in my family born in the United States. My parents came from Europe right after the war when they were very young. And I grew up in the state of Rhode Island, smallest state in the U.S. by area, and went to college just south of D.C. in Virginia, and got a diploma and a bachelor's degree in chemistry and one in business admin as a dual major. And then I started studying to be a stockbroker part-time. It was one of my friends clued me into it. I started doing that, but I took a job third shift in a circuit board factory in the DC area. While I was doing this, I worked third shift in the chemical lab, chemical management, operations management, wastewater stuff. And in very short order, I got promoted after I solved a few midnight type problems for them, I guess. And they determined I was promotable. I got promoted, and I ended up running the environmental program for this company. I stopped my stockbroker pursuits because this was much more interesting and aligned to what I had studied in school. Whether it was the right decision or not, I'm not sure, but I did it, right? And then as time went on, I got moved around in different positions. I ended up going into their purchasing department. I was a buyer. I was running their warehouse for a period of time. In addition to all the environmental stuff, the chemical operations, I ended up running all this. And then I got moved into process engineering. I ended up becoming a process engineer in this Virginia-based company just outside D.C. Then one of the executives decided to leave. The head of engineering, who had become the GM, decided to leave the company, and he took a position up in the Pacific Northwest. And it was an easy decision for me when he asked me to go with him, because I think it was 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 100% humidity outside in Virginia at the time, and I was looking at the weather map, and it looked much nicer in the Seattle area. So I went over there and did engineering for them. It was much more advanced company equipment-wise, so I learned a lot about equipment technology there. It was actually probably the most advanced company I had seen to date environmentally. They were recycling a lot of things, even stuff that we're just bringing to the market now with our clients. They were doing way back then. It's like lost knowledge. I would say the industry forgot all about it. And in the Northwest in general, we had quite a bit of this. There were other companies that did a lot of recovery. So I learned about recycling approaches there. It was the first company doing direct imaging in the United States. I learned a lot about this technology there and many other things. And after a few years in this area, I got an opportunity to go to the East Coast as an engineering manager for a multinational company called Sanmina. And I became quickly their person responsible for new product development. So I ended up becoming like the super specialist in new product engineering. So looking at products, figuring out how to build them, identifying the processes that were needed, adjusting the processes, developing recipes, and working with clients, this whole life cycle of new product introduction and development. And that was my specialty the whole time I was there. And at the same time that I was there, we had a major collapse in the industry. So 90% of the factories in the U.S. basically disappeared in the 2000 and noughts time period in the U.S. market and in Europe too. And so huge headwinds. We saw so many programs get offshored. And so every day I was like fighting for the life of the company I was in to keep feeding it product that we could make money on. And this involved always dealing with lots of risk, de-risking things, figuring out how to make bricks without straw, so we would often not have the capital budget to get new equipment. Even though the company made money, they would send it to another division of the company, or they'd use it somewhere else, and we wouldn't get any money. So a lot of MacGyver engineering, a lot of very challenging activities, and I learned a tremendous amount there. But then in 2011, I met my wife, and decided it's time to change. And I also felt the company had become addicted to this behavior, and I wouldn't be able to settle down. So I went and took a job in semiconductor test industry down in Texas. Ended up becoming general manager of a semiconductor test company. Learned a lot about this market, and then because of my background with new product development, I developed a reputation for building things other people couldn't build, and developing processes very rapidly that other people couldn't do. And I got recruited by a company in New England that was interested in building the first circuit board company in the U.S. since the market collapsed 13 years earlier. And so I got hired there. So the guy in charge named John Olson, he had grown the company it was a family-owned business. He wasn't a family member, but he was like the first employee. He grew the company from a garage up to a $400 million business, very vertically integrated. He grew the business to be very robust because he's constantly vertically integrating and taking the profit that the contractor would have as his cost savings and making it more and more resilient and robust. And so one of the last thing he did before he retired is he wanted to bring circuit boards in. He was 78 when he hired me. Been running the company for decades, and we clicked on a lot of levels. Thinking wise, he was an engineer, I was technical, and so I got the assignment to build a new circuit board factory, and when I came up with an interesting business plan, because I had to make money, that was the condition, and they were buying the boards in China, and so I had to make a very innovative plan where there were basically no people in the factory. It was the closest to a dark factory I think that's been realized anywhere, even to date. A lot of unique things I did to get the costs down. It was the first factory in the world that did not have photolithography that made circuit boards. Everything was 3D printed. I used some very innovative equipment out of the Netherlands to realize this, and the whole factory was in line. So we did double-sided boards, low layer count boards, and in the course of this project, a lot of headwinds. Learned a tremendous amount. It was my first factory I ever built. Even we couldn't get a permit for the wastewater. After we bought the equipment, Mr. Olson said, "There's no problem. We'll get a permit for the wastewater." He couldn't get the permit, and we went down to Concord, New Hampshire, to talk to the state. And they told us, yes, we're not really interested in having more circuit board facilities because some of them are Superfund sites now. They're all toxic waste dumps that have been left behind as this industry went offshore, and we don't want more of those. So on the way back up to where the factory was, where I lived at the time, he was telling me in the car, he's like, "Oh, you have a big problem." I said, "Yeah, I guess I do, sir, yeah." And basically said, if you don't solve this problem, you're going to have to move back to Texas. I said, "Okay, yes, I understand, yes." And so he put the pressure on me to figure out how to close loop wastewater to get rid of the permit. He said, "We can't have a permit, so you got to make sure we don't have one." And but he supported me. I came up with some ideas on how to do it, and he bought the equipment. And after about a year of lots of fun back there, I was the guy who ran the system, and I had a few maintenance guys that helped me whenever I made a mistake. They would go and clean up my mistakes for me and help me out. And after a year, we got it running really well. And it turned out it was the first factory in the world that had such a system. And I didn't even know that. I imagined other people had done it before somewhere. And I also imagined that other people had made very automated factories before. But this turned out to be the most automated green thing globally. And then we got a lot of attention for this. And then Mr. Olson retired and passed away not too long after. But as he was transitioning out, I was given the opportunity to do a new project where they said, well, the ROI on this project was so good. They had gone from $7.5 million annual spend to $2.7 million with a $12 million investment. So it was a 3-year payback, and they're only working 3 days a week. So it was a nice return. And they said, can we do this again for maybe let's sell circuit boards on the merchant market? Okay, so I came up with a plan focusing on a given product type that I thought would have the highest return, HDI, and it turned out to be correct. That was what the market needed, and went and built a very innovative facility. But the challenge with it was there was no product at the end of the tunnel, and had to adapt along the way to see what was actually available. So it was like a build it and you will come and they will come business plan. So not the most efficient thing. It was like a collection of technologies that could be deployed to build just about anything, but not really made efficient to build any one thing. And but it was also the fastest anybody had ever gone from low tech to high tech. So in only like 3 years time, we had gone from doing double-sided and 4-layer work to doing very high layer count with multiple HDI layers, build-ups, very tight tolerances. I ended up integrating cell phone technology with RF microwave technology in a unique way. So a lot of innovations. And it was also at this time that I received a special gift basket. I came to my office one day, and I knew that I was traveling too much when I received a personal gift basket from the CEO of Expedia thanking me for being one of the top 5 travelers in the world for that year. And then I said, yes, I am traveling way too much, right?
Yeah.
And but that's where I also made all my network with all that traveling, connecting the dots. And we qualified some of the most challenging programs in the market that other factories couldn't qualify. I ended up steering the design of some of the defense primes to our technologies to give us a nice moat around the business. And they still maintain this moat to this day from this effort. And then, after a time, in the course of building that factory, we were using an equipment supplier in Poland. It was a German-Polish equipment supplier. They had an office in Germany, manufacturing in Poland. And we ended up acquiring them along the way because they had some financial challenges. And I ended up repurposing this company to build custom equipment for us and for other clients potentially. And so I became managing director of an equipment company in Europe at the same time that I was running this business in the U.S., starting up this company. And we got some inquiries for projects that were kind of synergistic between both companies. So one company called Vicor Corporation in Massachusetts, they came to us and wanted us to industrialize an SMT-able power inverter component that they had invented and demonstrated. So figured out how to industrialize this with the equipment we had in New Hampshire. And then because we had this equipment company, I said, oh, look, and the product wasn't a good fit for our equipment. It was very thick and required fixturing. So I said, look, let's go ahead and build you guys a facility and you can make it your own, but it'll be custom for this product. So that was like the first custom facility I did for somebody else that wasn't ourselves. And so made a master design plan for them, designed the facility, and they're running it to this day. And then another company came to us, Schweitzer Engineering Labs from Pullman, Washington, and they were interested in lower layer count products, higher layer count than Whelen had originally built, but lower layer count in general, technology-wise. So I made a plan for them, same kind of thing, getting the equipment done out of our company. I did the master design plan engineering, and then they're in production now too. So, but both of these two companies, they didn't ramp up till after I left, because I decided after I made those business plans, and I was also asked to do patents and start growing this wastewater business globally. I decided that was it. Everything was on my shoulders, and why not just have my own company and do it on my own? Especially Mr. Olson had retired and passed, and the new management was non-technical and much younger than I was even. So not the best fit for me growth-wise. So I moved on, and then I went to school full-time in my 40s. I went and decide if I'm going to start my own business. I'm probably not prepared for this, because I've been this technical person mostly for my career, and I never had one personal development course, nothing. I was always like the person who was the most in demand in the company. When I joined like some of these big companies, I didn't even complete the orientation. The GM would pull me out of the orientation and give me some assignment somewhere on the floor. Yeah. I mean, I've always been in that kind of demand. I never had training, so I decided to do something for myself. And I went and found all my weak spots, analyzed everything, had other people analyze me, and I went to school full time for a couple of years. And I went to, luckily, because I had an interesting CV, I guess, to these schools. I got into some of the top schools in the world. I ended up going to Wharton for finance, Berkeley for technology, Yale for global leadership, MIT for different design topics in engineering, LBS, London Business School for finance, European side, and University of Cambridge for management and other topics, and some technical topics. And the great thing about these schools was I really improved myself a lot. And at the same time, I developed really strong networks. All the programs that I took were alumni status granting programs. So I ended up becoming an alumnus of all of these schools and joining their networks. And then it was like a sales and marketing exercise. So you meet somebody in class, hey, my friend needs a factory, yeah, or my friend needs a process. So I ended up making a huge network of folks that I could work for. And it was very global in nature because of the schools I went to. So I really started to branch out globally at this point, and started Smart Factory Design then as a global engineering company, leveraging these networks, and I ended up with a lot of projects just from school.
Mm. Wow, it's always so interesting to hear how someone's career path shapes the way they build a business. So that brings me to the next question. Where did the idea for this company in this area come from?
So, the one thing was everybody was coming to see me when I was at GreenSource to design factories for them. And the second thing was, okay, so, I was in class when I went to this midlife re-education process, and I was in class thinking about all the time about what to do. And I kind of had this planted in me with all the devastation in the U.S. and European markets from all the downsizing that happened, that why can't we reshore this stuff in a smarter way? Okay, it's just that simple. It's all about design. I've done a couple projects where we're getting huge returns on the investment, even in the U.S. market with high labor costs and all these regulations. Why can't we do it at a larger scale? That's what Smart Factory Design is about.
Yeah, so this really started with a vision, not just to build factories, but to rethink how they are designed from the ground up. And I think that the name Smart Factory Design says a lot already. But for those who don't know, can you briefly describe the company's name and the idea behind the name?
So Smart Factory Design, it's like the next level beyond Industry 4.0, the way I look at it. So Industry 4.0, it's a term coined in Europe 9 years ago, something like that. And it's describing what they call the fourth industrial revolution, which consists of a bunch of technologies integrated together in cyber physical systems, whether it's robotics, AI, whatever it may be. There's a whole portfolio of these digital twins, all these buzzwords that are integrated together, so you get a nice synthesis of buzzwords. But the application of these technologies in work cells in real life in factories had not really been realized. Technologies are there, but the realization of the synthesis of all these technologies was not. So smart factory design really focuses on taking what is Industry 4.0 ready equipment and actually making Industry 4.0 work cells, and then connecting those work cells together into a factory that's largely autonomous, that is able to handle a wide, whatever range you specify. If it's a high mix, then okay, changeover costs are low. It can adapt to different mix. Recipe is predictable. The metrology is feeding back through machine learning and optimizing the recipes. And that's one aspect. Another aspect is you're doing mass production of something and you're just trying to keep your costs super low. So you can say a smart factory in this case is less automated. It's fewer controls, but it's consistent behavior. So it's a different set of controls in this case. You don't need to change over recipes all the time. You just need to do the same thing repeatedly all the time and catch if there's some kind of an issue with a raw material or something. There's different strategies for different products, but the idea is it's just smart. You're being smart when you're designing. It's that simple. Okay.
Wow, I love that it's not just about factories. It's about design, international, thoughtful, efficient design. So it's incredible to see how much time and energy it takes to build something sustainable. I imagine there were some real challenges along the way. So what were the biggest challenges in the early days?
The biggest challenges in the market, it's just whenever you bring some new concepts or some new technologies together, you always have your early adopters. So there's always people that you encounter who are more than open to doing new things. And then 90% of the market is not. Okay. And then it might not be that they're not open, but they're also not ready. They don't have the capital. They're not prepared. So the marketing and the identification of opportunities in the market and finding the strategies to help everybody, this took quite a bit of time to develop, because I was always familiar with, when I was running a company, what my problems were. And I dreamt about them. I thought about them all the time and how to solve them. It was, an obsessive compulsive type thing. But when you're trying to find out what somebody else's problems are, often they don't even know some of their problems, because it depends who you're talking to in the company. So larger companies, you got to talk to many people to find out what's going on, and usually it's the larger companies that I was dealing with. So a lot more interviewing, auditing, discussion, research. That was the biggest challenge, to come to conclusions. Just getting things primed and getting things going that way. Yeah.
Okay, so those moments of doubt and difficulty are often where the best lessons come from. So, but now that the company has a strong foundation, what's next? What are the biggest opportunities for the future?
For the future, so as you know, we're a very young company, but we've done projects for some very huge companies, and we've also recently got involved with startups, which that's the most fun thing there is new products, new business strategies. That's a lot of fun, and that's what I see us doing more and more of, is helping the startup ecosystem, helping reshore mass production efficiently in the Western world, having a more secure manufacturing ecosystem. So we don't want to constantly outsource all our electronics manufacturing to countries that are not on the same page.
Yeah.
So that's where I see a big focus. But at the same time, I also see plenty of opportunity for collaboration internationally. So and AI, this is a big focus area right now. How do we grow this? What are the consequences of this? That's another story. But there's so much drive for this. I think that you're going to see a lot of convergence in how AI is being implemented from a hardware perspective. And I'm on the hardware side. I'm making electronics. I'm not a programmer, even though I've programmed ERP systems for whole factories myself before. But that's not my core. Many people can do this. My focus and the company's focus is hardware. So whereas everything was outsourced to East Asia before, I see that we're going to be doing some mass production in the West again in the next few years with these kind of smart factory concepts.
Oh.
I can't say more than that, except that it's under NDA and it's moving forward.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's a really inspiring vision, even though, and I think it's especially powerful because we don't operate like a traditional company. So Alex, thank you so much for sharing your story and giving us this inside look at how smart factory design came to life. And to all our listeners, thank you for joining us for this first episode. In the next one, we'll dive deeper into how our international partnerships work and why making locally and innovating globally is more than just a slogan. So see you there. Thank you.
Thanks.